This is a story from Butterflies and Buttercups. The title of the story is The Frog Prince, a fairy tale. One fine evening, a young princess went into the wood and sat down by the side of a cool spring of water. She had a golden ball in her hand, which was her favorite plaything, and she amused herself with tossing it into the air and catching it again as it fell. After a time, she threw it up so high that when she stretched out her hand to catch it, the ball bounded away and rolled along upon the ground till at last it fell into a spring. The princess looked into the spring after the ball, but it was very deep, so deep that she could not see the bottom of it. Then she began to lament her loss. "Oh, alas! If I could only get my ball again, I would give all my fine clothes and my jewels and everything I have in the world." While she was speaking, a frog put his head out of the water and said, "Rabbit, Princess, why do you weep so bitterly?" "Alas," she said, "what can you do for me, you nasty frog? My golden ball has fallen into the spring." The frog said, "Rabbit, I want not your pearls or jewels or fine clothes, but if you will love me and let me live with you, and eat from your little golden plate and sleep upon your little bed, I will bring you your ball again, Rabbit." "Ah, what nonsense," thought the little princess. "The silly frog is actually talking. He can never get out of the well. However, he may be able to get my ball for me, and therefore I will promise him whatever he asks." So she said to the frog, "Well, if you bring me my ball, I promise to do all that you require." Then the frog put his head down and dived deep under the water, and after a little while he came up again with the ball in his mouth, and he threw it onto the ground. As soon as the young princess saw her ball, she ran to pick it up and was so overjoyed to have it in her hand again she never thought of the frog, and she ran home with it as fast as she could. The frog called after her, "Ribbit, ribbit, 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 stay, princess, and take me with you. Ribbit, ribbit, and as you promised." But she did not stop to hear a word. The next day, just as the princess sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise. As if somebody were coming up the marble staircase. And soon afterwards, something knocked gently at the door. "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here. And mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." Then the princess ran to the door and opened it, and there she saw the frog, who she had quite forgotten. She was terribly frightened, and she shut the door as fast as she could, came back to her seat. The king, her father, asked, "What has frightened you, dear?" "That nasty frog," she said, "at the door. He's the one who lifted the ball out of the spring this morning. I promised him he should live with me here, thinking that he could never get out of the spring, but there he is at the door, and he wants to come in." While she was speaking, the frog knocked at the door again. "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here. And mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." The king said to the young princess, "As you have made a promise, you must keep it, and so go let him in." And she did. And the frog hopped into the room, came up close to the table. "Pray lift me up upon the chair." he said to the princess, "and let me sit next to you there." As soon as she had done this, the frog said, "Put your plate closer to me so I might eat out of it." This she did, and when he had eaten as much as he could, he said, now I'm tired. Carry me upstairs and put me in your little bed." And the princess took him up in her hands and put him upon the pillow of her very own little bed, where he slept all night long. As soon as it was light, he jumped up, hopped downstairs, and went out of the house. Now, thought the princess, he's gone, and I shall be troubled with him no more." But she was mistaken, for when night came again, she heard the same tapping at the door, and when she opened it, the frog came in and slept upon her pillow as before, till the morning broke. And the third night he did the same. But when the princess awoke on the following morning, she was astonished to see, instead of a frog, a handsome prince standing at the head of her bed, gazing on her with the most beautiful eyes that she had ever seen. He told her that he had been enchanted by a malicious fairy, who had changed him into the form of a frog, in which he was fated to remain for eternity till some princess should take him out of the spring and let him sleep upon her bed for 3 nights. "You," said the prince, "you have broken this cruel charm, and now I have nothing to wish but that you should go with me into my father's kingdom, where I will marry you and love you as long as you live." The princess, you may be sure, was not long in giving her consent. As they spoke, a splendid carriage drove up with the 8 very beautiful horses decked with plumes of feathers and golden harnesses, and behind rode the prince's servant, the faithful Henry, who had bewailed the misfortune of his dear master for so long and bitterly that this heart had well nigh burst. Then all set out full of joy for the prince's kingdom, where they arrived safely and lived happily a great many years. The end.